Continuing on with the preseason grind, we now move on to my yearly list of drivers and teams I'm going to be paying close attention to, and I feel like everyone should do the same in my opinion. The first and most obvious one is Carson Hocevar. You could also say Spire Motorsports as a whole, and they'll definitely be on my watch list for this upcoming season, but I feel like Hocevar deserves his own focus here. Because last year, he surprised a lot of people, including myself, quickly establishing himself as a weekly top 20 contender and winning Rookie of the Year in a landslide with Spire Motorsports. And while the sophomore slump is a definite concern, as is the case with most other young drivers coming off a stellar rookie year, in Hocevar's case, Spire made tons of improvements across the board to where I feel confident in saying this would not be the case with him. I expect him to officially step up as the number one guy at Spire and even compete for a playoff spot. It may not be possible for him to make it without a win, and while I'm not disregarding that possibility, I would not consider a top 20 points finish a disappointment either. Simply put, this kid is on the rise. Moving on to another team that is on the rise as well is Front Row Motorsports. In light of Michael McDowell's departure, ironically to Spire Motorsports, people immediately expected a down year for the team in 2025, and for good reason too, as McDowell was a big part of why the team finds itself where it is right now. That being said, like Spire, they made massive improvements across the board. They replaced McDowell by bringing back Zane Smith, and they also expanded to 3 entries with the addition of Noah Gregson, giving them some much youth on that department. Now, the main reason why they're on this list though is because of their truck series operation. Lane Riggs is back for another year, and with the way he finished last season, I fully expect him to be in the playoff mix. Same goes for Chandler Smith, who the team signed to his second full-time entry for the season, and that signing came a bit out of left field, as I didn't think anyone would bother signing him due to the lack of sponsorship he brings, but thankfully he's found a new home and he won't have to step away from racing to take over his family business, at least for the time being. Going back to the drivers, I want to highlight Shane Van Gisbergen now. SVG wasn't on my list originally, simply because we all know what's up with them, okay? He will be a huge threat on road courses. There's nothing noteworthy to watch in that regard. However, after watching him run inside the top 10 and finishing 9th in the Bowman Gray Clash, I'm going to be paying close attention to his performance on ovals, particularly on the short tracks. And we saw this throughout his Xfinity campaign last season, him getting more comfortable to that style of racing as the season went on, and how he went from running mid-pack to competing for top 10s and the occasional top 5s at some tracks like Indianapolis in the second half of the year. And if you ask anyone backing Australia's V8 Supercar Series what they think about SVG, they have stated that SVG's raw talent is world-class level, and that he is the most talented driver they have ever seen, period. Most talented driver they have ever seen, period. Their words, not mine. And if given enough time, he will be able to figure out not just the car, but also the racetrack. Now, of course, the Cup Series is a different beast compared to Xfinity, and I don't expect SVG to run mid-pack consistently right off the bat. What I do expect to see, though, is his progress throughout the year to the point that he will be able to run and finish mid-pack at these oval tracks by the second half of the year. And I feel that if you look at his development from that angle, it could be a fun and kind of underrated storyline to watch if you ask me, because I feel like SVG's performance at the Clash deserves more recognition. I'm really surprised more people are not talking about this. You guys don't know how big of a deal this is, that SVG is figuring out the ovals, especially the short tracks. Next up, we have Haas Factory Team, and given that I made a video a few weeks ago detailing the history of their 41 car, you know I will be watching this team pretty closely. Again, like I always say though, go watch that video if you want to know more. It explains everything you need to know about that team and their current situation, as well as their history in greater detail than what I'm gonna explain here. One thing I didn't mention in that video, however, is that they just enter an alliance with RFK Racing. Similar to Rick Ware, which is ironic considering that back in the SHR days, both Haas and Rick Ware were in an alliance with each other, and now they're both allied with RFK. Now, it probably doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things, and considering how crowded the middle of the pack is as far as Cup Series teams go, because you got Spire and Front Row taking that next step, and even the smaller teams like Hayek Motorsports, formerly known as JTG Doherty Racing, Legacy, Wood Brothers, Colleague. There's a really good chance that Cole Custer and team finish outside the top 25 in points, considering how crowded the middle of the pack is. On that same token, however, they're just as likely to compete for top 20s on a weekly basis, so you never know. Going down to the Truck Series again, let's talk about Caden Honeycutt, Nice Motorsports' newest star driver. Honeycutt showed a lot of promise running part-time last year, and like Lane Riggs, I fully believe he'll be a playoff driver this season. And while Nice may not have the resources other bigger teams like Tricon, ThorSport, or McAnally have, he is driving their flagship truck, the 45. And as long as the guy driving is a quality talent, that team will be competitive. We saw it with Ross Chastain, we saw it with Carson Hocevar, although now that I think about it, Hocevar was driving the 42 instead of the 45. But you guys know what I mean. Every time a driver at Nice, every time Nice Motorsport signs a driver with talent, that they immediately put all of the resources on that team so they can be as competitive as they can. Honeycutt showed some flashes of that last year, and I'm confident he will continue to turn heads in 2025, especially with Nice hopefully increasing their support like they did with Chastain and Hocevar, which I 100% believe they will do, because he's just that talented. I believe in Caden Honeycutt. I'm a huge Caden Honeycutt fan. I cannot wait to see how this season goes for him. And the final driver that I have my watch on is actually a group of drivers. How about this season's Xfinity Series rookie class? Because it's absolutely stacked. This has got to be the deepest rookie class we have ever seen in a long time across all three NASCAR National Series. Headlined by star prospects in Connor Silich, William Sawalich, and Carson Kvapil, to go along with other quality talents like Christian Eckes, Nick Sanchez, Taylor Gray, and Daniel Dye. Also Dean Thompson, but no offense, he's nowhere near the level his fellow rookies are to even be worth mentioning. But yeah, this rookie class is pretty strong. I could very easily see 5 of these guys making the playoffs, with at least 1 or 2 of them making it all the way to the championship 4. As for who I think will be Rookie of the Year, look man, I cannot make a clear-cut prediction. Obviously, if you ask me now, it will be Connor Silich, who is the guy everyone is talking about. But it's not as clear-cut as you might think. So Walich and Carson Kvapil will be some serious threats, and even Taylor Gray I feel will have an outside shot at the award. But yeah, this rookie class is pretty stacked, and it will be an absolute treat following these drivers' individual storylines throughout the season.